Hello everyone, this is Keith George, and this is a quick presentation to supplement for your data governance, data privacy um, activities. This is the presentation that I had planned to give at EdCamp Montgomery, but because the schedule was full, I elected not to and just provide it to you this way. So the resource I'm using, as you can see, is from the Connect Safely website, and I'm just using a presentation that already existed because I wanted a quick and easy way to discuss the idea of student data privacy, which falls under the auspices of data governance. Now, data governance itself is the idea that a institution, in our case a school or school district, has a responsibility to protect student privacy through all the data we collect. So this quick and easy guide was something that I found and I've used many times. So I just want to kind of go over it with you. So the first thing to talk about is why classroom teachers would even care about student data privacy. Well, the easy answer there is that there are various legal as well as ethical implications for this data getting out. Obviously, you probably have been made aware of the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA. You have legal responsibilities to protect student data, student information, from outside sources, and to make sure that you only share those sources or that data with approved individuals or entities. So this is even the simple stuff like making sure that if you use a student information system, most time in Alabama that's Chalkable, iNow, whatever they kind of call it in your system, make sure that you have a password to get in there. Make sure that you log out of that when you step away from your computer. But this also involves new technologies that come about and the apps that are used on those. Even just having your students use an app on their iPads could be something that would fall under the FERPA regulations if that app requires student names to be entered or things like that. So there are certainly some responsibilities that we have to be aware of. The next idea, it falls right into that, and that is what constitutes student data. Well, on a simple level, this is anything that is tied to individual students, that is personally identifiable information. You'll see that as PII, and that is all subject to FERPA. So as you can see down in here, this includes a variety of things, such as name, address, names of parents, guardians, date of birth, grades, attendance, disciplinary records, eligibility for free and reduced lunch, any special needs, any other information that is required by the school. But it also includes the other uses that can be generated by schools: email accounts, online bulletin boards, work performed in an educational program or app, anything about the student that can be connected to them personally. That all falls under the guidelines of student data. And when all that data is put together, that's what constitutes an educational record. Anything that is collected as part of the work of the school, the education agency or institution, or anyone acting on their behalf, which would be you, the teacher, can fall under the educational record, and therefore could be requested by the family to be, as part of their educational records request. So all of that falls under student data. So now we get into where we cross this with technology and what happens if you want to use an educational app or tool. What has to happen before you use that? Well, the first thing is you don't just run out and use any app without investigating it first. Most schools now have a policy of vetting or evaluating the new tools, new apps that come out so that they can verify that it meets the privacy guidelines of the school district's data governance plan. This group that I'm getting the presentation from actually has a checklist that schools can use if they don't already have one in place. And what happens is usually the district will have someone that will approve these and it gets put onto an approved list. But as something new comes out, there are some there are some concerns to make sure that it has been vetted by someone or that you vet it yourself. So if tools have already been vetted, the districts may have a policy on what allows them to be installed and used by students or not. If it is an unvetted app, it hasn't been vetted by the school, you cannot necessarily suggest that your students use that app as part of any school project or school-related activity until it has been. So how do you start with that? Well, they break it down into some example questions here. Do you have to make an account? If so, what kind of information did you have to provide? Did it require parental permission? Who else has access to it? And what information do they have access to? And does the app developer share this information with others? That should be in their privacy policy. And then also, does the app collect additional information such as location or access to the contents to the other context? The student is not, or in some of our cases, the teacher that suggests using another app is not going to know this information off the top of their head in all likelihood, unless they've been through the process before. So it is something that you would definitely want to encourage them to seek out. They have to kind of think about this type of information and use of data before it can be used in the classroom. So if they still want to do something that's not designed for education, we need to make sure that these commercial products that aren't targeted towards education meet the guidelines of the district's data governance policy. So because they weren't designed for education, they often don't have this in mind. So it, again, falls under the use of guides like this and seeking out how it will relate to the various laws that are applied. So for instance, here's FERPA and a suggestion for that. Then you have COPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and also the PPRA, which is the Protection of People Rights Amendments, which kind of gives them some gives the student some rights of things that they want to be able to use. So that gets us into all these resources that we're talking about, and one of them, again, is the Connect Safely Educator's Guide to Social Media, the FERPA Sherpa app or website does a lot. Student Privacy Pledge, COSIN, the Council on School Network Privacy Toolkit, has a lot of resources that are very helpful too. And then kind of how to wrap things up are these questions that you would want to ask. Does the product connect personal information? Does the vendor commit to not sharing it? I'm not going to read all of these to you because I'm going to provide you with the link to this document, which will also give you access to the other documents that are related here for you to complete your assignment. But you have the 10 suggested questions that the authors of this tool have provided for you. So the big part of this assignment is the idea that data governance is an important part and a fairly new part of an educator and educational technology leaders area of concern. We need to make sure that the teachers are aware of this. We obviously need to make sure as school technology leaders that we are comfortable with this, and that we have a policy in place to protect students' data in any form. And this does cover everything from locks on file cabinets to computer security to the use of student data in apps and websites. So I'm going to post this for you, and it will have the link to this document so that you can get that other information, and hopefully that will be enough for you to get started on your project so that you have an understanding of data governance and how that applies to the school technology leader. Thank you.